Hey, what's going on, everybody? Matt here. So I appreciate you tuning in. So I'm going to start a new video series called "I'm Mad," where I cover a topics that make me upset or get me angry or mad. It's going to be opinion pieces, and on today I'm going to cover the Dalai Lama and a gentleman defending the Dalai Lama, and we'll just go over his arguments and break them down and why it's kind of upsetting to me. But yeah, buckle up and let's do it. So we have this gentleman here who is Mr. and he's the president of the Tibetan National Congress. So he's in a political position, and he will be breaking down what happened with the Dalai Lama. I'll include a clip of what happened,
Thank you.
and yeah, why it's not weird and it's just defending it. So let's hear what he has to say.
Change the context of an innocent and playful interaction between His Holiness the Dalai Lama with a young Indian student. Now, we do live in a new era of synthetic media, but if you're willing to open your mind and make decisions without assumptions, and even fact check the quality of the tailored information that you have received, then I encourage you to watch this video till the end, where I will pull the full, unedited interaction between His Holiness and the young Indian student. For the
So I just want context. I did speed up this video to 1.25 just because he talks so fucking slow, but um he also includes a clip at the end with more context of the video, which, in my opinion, just hurts the Dalai Lama more. I don't think it helps defend him. I think it's just more evidence of why it's weird and crosses the line, in my opinion.
context to the video online, the woman sitting on the stage there is the boy's mother. Here's the boy breaking a coconut as an auspicious tradition as His Holiness was returning back to his residence.
I don't see how that's really relevant. I mean, that is relevant that his mother's there. That is good. But also, mothers in the past have put their children in nefarious situations before. So, I mean,
You probably did not see any of these. You were not meant to see any of these. So please remember them as you watch the unedited video later.
I don't know why that's a good argument. You weren't supposed to see this. We were covering it up, but it came out. So now you get to see it. It's like, okay.
Tashtile, my name is Jigme and I'm a Tibetan. What makes
Not just any Tibetan, the president for the Tibetan National Congress. Let's not forget that.
a world beautiful is how we are able to share our differences in cultural practices, beliefs, and traditions. We have learned to grow in that global diversity and inclusion while trying to understand and acknowledge the various perspectives and approaches to cultural patterns for religions and social classes, while learning to respect and appreciate different cultural etiquettes, especially around kindness, curiosity, and respect.
I totally agree with him on this point. Always respect different cultural etiquettes and kindnesses, if that's a word. But yeah, just respect them even if they're different to yours. But in this scenario, he's defending. I think that crosses the line and doesn't fall under this scenario. This isn't normal. You know, I don't think that's a good defense. Yeah, definitely respect it. It's going to be different in different cultures, but I don't think this falls underneath that.
Every day before I left my house, my now deceased father and I would touch our foreheads, kiss on our lips before waving goodbye. That tradition lasted for 31 years of my life.
That's between you and your father, not some stranger. Apples to oranges, not a good argument in my opinion.
In our Tibetan culture, touching our foreheads and kissing signifies the recognition of our proximity and spirituality. My parents never said
I totally can see that. Touching foreheads and kissing. Even in many other cultures, kissing and touching foreheads is a way to introduce each other, but not sucking tongues and having a kid be like, or having a kid suck your tongue. That's not normal. That he's spinning it way differently.
I love you like many Tibetan parents, but they never needed to because our unique customs, beliefs, and our ancient traditional practices of mutual love were constant reminders and part of our daily lives.
I haven't seen a lot of Tibetan footage or interactions, but from everything this guy's shown, I haven't seen another interaction where they're sucking tongues. I understand again the kissing and the forehead touching, but no sucking tongues.
Whether it be stretching out our arms and bowing to welcome strangers, or touching a friend's shoulder or holding their hands in public, as a sign of friendship, or sticking out our tongues as a sign of respect.
Must mean hello. We have to stock up.
Now, these practices might seem
Again, it's comparing apples and oranges. Like the first two he mentions is touching hands and touching shoulders. Sure, that's a physical interaction, but not with bodily fluids. And the second one, you're not interacting with anybody. You're just sticking your tongue out. I disingenuous argument.
backward and weird in today's world, but they are our social norms, our social behaviors. It is what defines us as Tibetans and our ways of life. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, a Tibetan Buddhist monk, has been in the eyes of the world since birth.
I don't know enough about Tibetan way of life. I can't atone to that. But again, all the footage I've seen, I've never seen another interaction the way I've seen it with this child.
Our social behaviors. It is what defines us as Tibetans and our ways of life. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, a Tibetan Buddhist monk, has been in the eyes of the world since birth for 87 years, living a pure monastic life of celibacy, a spiritual guru of an entire religion, considered a living Buddha of compassion, our Cherisi, the patron saint of Tibet. He has attended nirvana. Nirvana, a state of freedom from all sufferings that we as Buddhists believe can only be achieved by removing all personal wishes and overcoming negative emotions.
So I don't know much about the Tibetan culture, but I know that achieving nirvana is very difficult. Very few do it. People die from trying to achieve nirvana, and yeah, it's very important in their religion. So I do know that, and it is grueling, and does put you to the test.
They say that the deep
Can you lose nirvana? I want to ask that question. I'm not again not super familiar with uh, their religion. That's why I'm asking, but I am familiar with the practice, kind of.
deepest lines on His Holiness's face are his laugh lines. He brings joy, laughter, and mutual enrichment to our world, selflessly and tirelessly promoting religious harmony and peace forever. On the global stage, on any platform, he treats every religious or political leader, celebrity, or any member of the audience, young or old, with banter and playfulness.
I do agree with him on this. Every clip or footage I've seen from the Dalai Lama, he's trying to spread compassion and good cheer and be just respectful to everybody. But that doesn't negate this action. And just because he's been good in the past, I have to take account of this action and this stepping across the line, in my opinion. I can't just disregard it because he's been good in the past. I saw it from my own eyes.
He is celebrated and loved for his teaching of compassion, forgiveness, contentment, and tolerance. He is appreciated for introducing the world with the joys of living the Tibetan way of life, our cultural practices, beliefs, and traditions.
I don't get why they're like showing Russell Brand so much. Uh, hold on, he's in this video twice. Hold on. Okay, so here's Russell Brand once, right? And then they throw him in there again. Like, dude, the Dalai Lama knows Russell Brand. They're boys. He's a good person. So just disregard this interaction. Just he's boys with Russell Brand. He's got to be a good guy, right? I just find that weird.
It seems like
Kind of seems like propaganda too, right?
many people in these turbulent times, being forced in an environment where we are meeting people virtually or making e-connections, have completely forgotten what human connection means.
I agree with this in a sense, and I don't. I think that yes, too much time spent on the computer like erodes social interactions completely. But I also think that like computer and internet and like TikTok gets you a insight into people's lives and it makes people more knowledgeable and come together even more. So I tend to agree and disagree with this statement.
In our Tibetan culture, our elders, especially our grandparents who really didn't have much to give or offer, would affectionately make fun of a child when they ask for something. A child could ask them for a candy or some pocket change, and the elder will lovingly barter for affection and then trap you with a joke or a riddle. First, give me a kiss on my cheek. I need you to touch your forehead on my forehead. Let's touch our noses. Give me a kiss. Which means I gave you everything, so the only thing left for me is for you to eat my tongue. So the child probably never gets the candy or money, but gets a beautiful lesson on life, love, and family.
Maybe again, lost in translation. What does that mean though? I don't get the lesson on that. Oh, I gave you everything, so you eat my tongue? I'm not following. I don't know.
That is exactly what His Holiness tenderly did to the child, the boy who asked for a hug. He gave him as much love, affection, and kindness as one would receive from a Tibetan family.
That's one
The
way to
viral
portray it.
video doesn't show His Holiness holding the child's hand on to his cheeks and praying with the child and giving him personal advices before tickling him with his larger-than-life laughter.
I think tickling's weird too. Like I don't know. Maybe again that's okay, but I think tickling a child's kind of weird too. I mean, I don't know. I think that's debatable, right?
Now, that is exactly how our elders in our
But I find it weird.
communities show affection with our children.
The sucking of the tongue, I don't think is debatable. I think that's crossing the line and inappropriate.
It is what a 87-year-old did to a child. This show of physical love and emotion is what defines us as Tibetans and our simple ways of life and love.
Like he looks uncomfortable there, but also grateful, if that makes sense. Um, it's uncomfortable. He seems uncomfortable.
We are same human brothers sisters.
Yeah, I don't know. He just seems uncomfortable. But again, very, very grateful.
Now, you should look those good human beings who create peace, happiness. Should not follow those human beings who always killing other people. You should not look these people.
I mean, I agree. I think it's weird, and I to say that, and I just think it's weird to always excuse me, like portray good, and then you got to be careful. People can portray good, and then on top of that or below that, do something nefarious, like do a charade of something good, but at the same time, that's a good way of masking something nefarious, malicious, and you have to be aware of that. Somebody could be doing something to you. Oh, I'm doing something so amazing for you, and be good, be a great person, while also being weird. I don't know if that's a good explanation. Tickling under the armpit.
When the boy asked His Holiness for a hug,
Can I hug you?
as his baffled mother waved at him from the stage, from a seat, one seat away from His Holiness, it literally took two people a couple of attempts to interpret the boy's request.
It's a question.
Korean.
So two people ask him 4 different times, can he have a hug, right? And there's the argument is he doesn't understand. There's a language barrier. He's not really grasping what's being asked because he asked it in English.
Okay, come.
Okay, come.
His Holiness is not fluent in English. He's a self-taught English speaker. Were there words lost in translation when he said, suck my tongue, the chele sa, eat my tongue? Absolutely, yes, it was. There was words lost in translation.
Okay, so this is a interview at Harvard in 1981 with a gentleman at Harvard and the Dalai Lama, and this is in
There
1981.
was some sort of a government official, perhaps the president, or secretary of state, or head of the United Nations or something, just imagining that such persons were there to listen to you, and you could really tell what is deepest in your heart about Tibet and the Tibetan people and what the world should try to do about it. That's what I would like you to do, if you would be so kind.
No translator, watch.
Now, you know, we Tibetan, with a long history and quite, I think I should say, quite rich cultural heritage.
So he stops there like, but I think it's a stop of he's formulating what he wants to say because he has such a good understanding and his vocabulary is so rich. Like he just used the word rich. I think the Dalai Lama can grasp English. I could be wrong though, and this is old, so things that can deteriorate over time. But asking for a hug,
So at the moment, we passing through, how to say, great difficulties. But now, fortunately, since 2-3 years back, now things are changing in more, how to say, a positive way. At the moment, I am quite hopeful.
to me, that's somebody who knows English pretty well.
I vividly remember watching this video. Oh, to the people who are saying that this video was hidden and it just came out, well, it was a global live telecast from outside the Tsukla Khan, the main temple in Dharamsala, where His Holiness was addressing over 120 Indian graduate students about valuing empathy, inclusion, and trust. This happened on February 28, 2023.
Like I said, I've only seen the Dalai Lama promote those things and spread those things. So again, this is why this footage is so shocking to me that he's crossing the line and being inappropriate like that.
That was a month ago, more than a month ago. So the bigger question is, why is an edited version of this video surfacing now?
Fair enough question.
Let's put a pin to that for now. So I vividly remember watching this video, and like many Tibetans, I was a bit envious and happy for this student for receiving such
Weird
reverence
that
and
he
love.
just did, again, like he said, pins that question and goes to another argument.
In fact, when you watch the unedited video later, you will also notice a Tibetan gentleman taking a photo to capture this beautiful interaction. At moments like this, we Tibetans say, "Kapso che," is a small prayer of veneration to thank and cherish His Holiness's playful nature, and for the person receiving this personal good gesture and acts of kindness of having good karma from their previous life.
Which I think that kid was definitely doing. I think that kid was very grateful and very respectful. I don't get the argument about the cameraman taking a picture, how that defends his actions, though. Oh, well, the cameraman took a picture of it, so I don't know. It seems weird to me.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama is not only the religious leader of the Tibetan people, but he's the manifestation of the Tibetan nation and his peaceful and honest struggle against a cruel, despotic, and totalitarian colonial power.
See, that feels disingenuous to me that, like, he is saying, well, if you are questioning the Dalai Lama, then you're questioning the Tibetan people and you're going after the Tibetan people, which I'm entirely not. I am questioning a man asking, why are you telling the child to suck your tongue? I don't know much about the Tibetan people. I would love to know more about them. They seem like really good people. And from what I've seen through media, that they are very religious and, very family oriented, which is very admirable. I wish there was more of that in the United States, right? But yeah, I think that this is disingenuous to say, he is the Tibetan people, so that you're essentially, if you're questioning him, you're questioning the Tibetan people.
Now, why was a live telecast of an event that happened more than a month ago was tailored and viciously marketed a week ago? So on March 23rd, 2023, His Holiness the Dalai Lama named and formally enthroned the 10th reincarnation of Kalka Dzogchen Dapa Rinpoche as the spiritual leader of Mongolia. He was enthroned as one of the highest Buddhist leaders, the head of the Gelugpa Buddhist school.
What seems weird to me, so he's one of the highest Buddhist leaders, right? And the Dalai Lama appointed him, which just seems ironic to me is that he's also a young boy. Now, I don't know if that's part of their tradition that it's always a young boy, but as somebody was holding so much power, it's interesting to me that it is somebody so young and also a male.
Spiritual leader of Mongolia. He was enthroned as one of the highest Buddhist leaders, the head of the Gelugpa Buddhist school in the landlocked nation of Mongolia. The ceremony in Dharamsala was attended by over 600 Mongolians
Right,
and over 5,000 monks and nuns.
right.
This event immensely provoked the rage of the CCP.
With US born Mongolian boy appointed by the Dalai Lama. He's US born as well. Interesting. That seems very political.
Which has been doing everything. The CCP has been doing everything to control and stop the spread of Buddhism.
I completely can buy that the CCP would control and try to eradicate the spread of Buddhism. Completely can see that happening.
This ceremony shook them to speculate that the now retired Dalai Lama still continued to remain as a politico-religious force to reckon across Buddhist nations, including Tibet. The CCP dictator Xi was supposedly stumped since their worst nightmare had turned
Stump G. You must now be ready for Dalai Lama shocker.
into a reality. CCP has been brutally obsessed with making sure that Buddhist leaders were elected through Communist Party regulations. And they are overly obsessed with the selection of the next Dalai Lama, the 15th Dalai Lama, to be selected and approved with the CCP's blessing.
Now, I don't think that's right or just. I don't think that the CCP, should have any dealings with that if they've never had in the past with that selection of the Dalai Lama. That seems like they're trying to insert themselves in a situation that they shouldn't be in,
So literally
which I can totally believe that the Chinese are trying to do.
a week after this ceremony, the video clip surfaced. The timing was once again like clockwork to sway the public's opinion about Tibet and His Holiness. It was
It may be that the CCP did put this out, but regardless, my eyes aren't deceiving me. These are inappropriate actions. These are actions that cross the line, in my opinion. And if he's doing this in public, what is he doing in private? I would like to know more. You know what I'm saying?
of course, sensationalized into a clickbait story with leading titles and fake descriptions and an edited video.
I don't think that they were that clickbait or, we'll see the full video that he's going to produce. I've seen it. And again, I think it produces more evidence towards this is inappropriate and gross and a kind of an abuse of power.
They say that the most successful propaganda is the one which does not pose as such.
Kind of like this. Wherever the readers are, wherever the viewers are, that is where the propaganda reports must extend their tentacles. But that goes with any media. Yeah, that's like a generalized statement, sure. Any media,
It
though.
deeply saddens and breaks our hearts reading horrifying comments and appalling accusations against His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, orchestrated
His Holiness. They keep saying that to he is very holy, but they're trying to, spin it that you're attacking somebody who's so holy.
a network of disinformation by various trolls, paid media, and so-called influencers, clearly led and paid by the CCP, who have successfully weaponized social media at an unprecedented global scale.
I can tell you I'm not paid by the CCP or the China or anybody like that. Fuck China. I hope Taiwan stays a one nation free. Fuck China.
I'm sure those
Or two nation. I hope whatever it is, I hope that they stay free from the Chinese reign.
same trolls will be commenting on this video as they should. That's what they are paid for. And I look forward to that. According to the research from
Oh, I'm not commenting on your video. I'm making a whole breakdown of your video, debunking each point you make.
Miburo, a firm that tracks
Because
foreign
this seems exactly like propaganda.
disinformation operations, at least 200 so-called influencers are operating in 38 different languages connected to the CCP government and or its state media. Freedom House, a non-profit political advocacy group, found that Beijing's media influence efforts are heavily seen in 16 of the 30 countries across the
I don't disagree with this. I'm sure that that does exist, and I'm sure that they are trying to spread that information, the Chinese. But that's not me. I mean, I'm not getting paid by them. I'm trying to stay objective, and when I see something, I call it out. And the Dalai Lama's actions were gross and inappropriate.
The globe. So please join us to combat this disinformation with your own researches kept with open minds and clear hearts. Before I show you the unedited clip, as my final words, I would like to remind the CCP, their lapdogs, and the delusional sympathizers about what His Holiness the Dalai Lama means to us. Every Tibetan worth their salt will readily sacrifice themselves before forsaking him. Let me say that again. Every Tibetan worth their salt will readily sacrifice themselves before forsaking His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And to my fellow Tibetans, we may lose our patience with this sad circus, and at times we want to shout explicit lines at them, but we must rise above it. We know they are wrong. They have been wrong, and they have continuously tried and failed to control or influence the narrative of our people and dictate our history.
I think speaking in absolutes is dangerous. Like this guy, everybody's wrong. Um, for the Tibetan people, I think that would be very admirable, to call somebody out on their actions if they were wrong. I think that's very admirable, and not just believe everything that is told to you. Always question everything from everybody. Uh, I know this person has reached nirvana and is in a stature where it seems like they could do no wrong, but you have to question everything. You never know. And this is right in front of your eyes. They're trying to tell you that what you are seeing is not what it truly is. And I think that is scary.
We may be standing alone in our expressions, but we stand with pride in our
You're not standing alone in your expressions. I will stand with you. I don't know much about the Tibetan people, but I would love to learn more. Honestly, they seem like a great group of people, but I don't know much about them, to be honest. So I don't like making blanket statements. It seems like most Tibetans are good, but you know, again, I don't like making blanket statements.
identity of peace-loving Tibetans under the wisdom and leadership of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Remember, we stood alone when our country was ruthlessly invaded and we faced a genocide. We stood alone as millions of Tibetans were massacred, and it continues.
And if it does continue, I want to stand with you. Like that is extremely wrong, and that needs to be shouted from the rooftops that this is happening. Um, th- that's news to me. I'm trying to become more researched and knowledgeable and less ignorant about all topics on the world, and that's why I do this stuff. So interests me so much, and that's wrong. And I would love to stand with the Tibetan people to speak up against that because that's horrifying. And if the Chinese are doing that, that is completely wrong.
We stood alone when our ancient monasteries and our cultures were destroyed. We stood alone as 168 Tibetans burned their bodies calling for freedom. We continue to stand alone, but united and together.
Let me know what I can do. I would love to stand with you, honestly, and stand up against hypocrisy, hate, um, pedophilia. I want to stand up for what's right and have strong morals and ethics.
We know we will stand a day longer than the CCP. Long live His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. Long live His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. Pögelo.
Fuck the CCP, but that also seemed like propaganda. Here's the unedited video.
Can I hug you? It's a question.
So he asks again, "Can I hug you?" in English. They ask him once, twice, 3 times.
Okay, come.
So I think 3 times.
First here,
Kiss on the cheek. Okay. Very grateful.
then I think
Just
finally here also.
that's weird already. Kiss on the lips. Weird, weird, inappropriate, crossing the line. It just seems uncomfortable. Like the kid does not want to do that, but doesn't want to be disrespectful at the same time. I don't know.
My tongue.
Doesn't suck the tongue and then hits the child. What? How is this appropriate? Doesn't suck the tongue, hits the child. No, that's not right in any way you spin that. No, 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 no. And like I said, if he's doing this in public, what is he doing in private? It scares me. Um, and I like it. It's sad that this person in this video is saying either you're calling out an entire nation by calling out the Dalai Lama. I don't want it. I want to call the man out for these weird and inappropriate actions.
We are saying, human brothers, sisters,
Yeah, I don't.
thank you. Now,
He's very grateful,
look those
but also uncomfortable. So that's even worse too. You're getting so many mixed feelings. That I really feel bad for this boy.
good human beings who create peace, happiness, should not follow those human beings who always killing other people. You should not look these people.
And this kind of reminds me of Andrew Tate. Like, say, do something nefarious, and then say something that everybody will agree with. Yes, I completely agree with what he just said, but not with his actions he just previously did. Weird. So, Madhouse, that's my Discord. Join the Discord. But people watching, I really appreciate you watching, taking your time. This just really infuriated me. I don't like when people take advantage of children. You know, they're so innocent. And it's really scary to me that it seems like pedophilia is becoming more and more commonplace and more accepted. And I want to stand up against that and stand up against stuff like this. This is not okay. And they're trying to spin it as it's okay and normal. And I don't care who you are. This is not okay. But everybody, thank you again for watching. I really appreciate it. I'm going to start again a series called I'm Mad, but much love, Mad out later.